Hello, this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a marvelous day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. Well, I came across an interesting piece of propaganda on Twitter, and I thought I would share it with you. Now, before I share this information, I'm going to give my opinion, and my opinion is that this is a shaming tactic for Black Americans. This is a shaming tactic, trying to shame us into believing that these immigrant groups who are coming here, these black people that's coming from Africa and the Caribbean, are doing so much better than we are. Now, this is about a survey that is being sent to people's homes that's done by the American Community Survey, which is a division of the United States Census Bureau. They're sending these surveys to people's homes. So I don't know how authentic this is, first of all, because they're not getting it from the income tax returns. This is coming from a survey, and this is people who are being honest. I mean, these are people who are mailing the survey back or who are taking the survey. Most people don't even take these surveys. But these are the people who are responding to the surveys, and we don't even know if these people are telling the truth or not. But even so, this is a shaming tactic. Black people, Black Americans, are pushing for reparations for slavery and Jim Crow and all of the collateral damage that has been done to us during our 400 or 500 years here. So they're trying to shame us by saying, well, you're just lazy. They're still pushing this lazy narrative, even though the Africans and the Caribbeans have said they came into their countries telling them that the reason they needed them to come to the United States because Black Americans won't do the work. But they didn't explain to the Africans or the Caribbeans why the other 87% of Americans couldn't do the work. Because remember, they say we're just 13% of the population. So why should 13% of the population be responsible for doing the work? Well, first of all, they're talking about work, cheap labor, that they pay below minimum wages for, and they don't want anybody complaining. And then they want the people who've always done the cheap labor or free labor. So that's what that's about. They keep throwing these statistics at us and telling us about how well these black immigrants are doing. But first of all, we don't know how reliable this is, because I'm saying this is not coming from income tax returns. This is not coming from what people have to actually report and document on their income tax. This is what somebody responded to on a survey. So we can believe about as much of this as we want to. But let's get into it. The American Community Survey is a demographic survey program conducted by the U.S. Census Bureau. It regularly gathers information previously contained only in the long form of the decennial census, including ancestry, citizenship, educational attainment, income, language proficiency, migration, disability, employment, and household characteristics. These data are used by many public sector, private sector, and not-for-profit stakeholders to allocate funding, track shifting demographics, plan for emergencies, and learn about local communities. Sent to approximately 295,000 addresses monthly, or 3.5 million per year, it is the largest household survey that the Census Bureau administers. So the American Community Survey is a division of the United States Census Bureau, and it is tracking demographics and telling how well everybody is doing who is being honest. And this is what we have here. They posted this chart on Twitter. It compares the household incomes of black immigrants to those of black Americans. So you have the Ghanaians at the top with $69,021 a year. Then you have the Guyanese at $67,772. The Egyptians, $67,187. Nigerians, $65,672. For all the talk about Nigerians bragging about being the most successful immigrants, they never come up as number one on any chart. Ghana or somebody else always outperforms them, but they're the ones out here doing all this bragging. I never hear Ghanaians bragging, but they're always at the top of the list. And Kenyans are not on here. And I wonder why Kenyans are not on here, because they outperform Nigerians on many of these charts. But anyway, they have the West Indian here at 65,258. And I think that's all of the West Indians combined. And then they broke them down, like Barbadians are $64,588. British West Indians, $64,545. Trinidadian Tobagonians at $62,120. Jamaicans at $62,044. And then they have West Indian again at $60,997. I don't know what that means. And for the Haitians, they have $52,364. Ethiopians, $52,364. Moroccans, $50,322. And then African Americans, that's us, at $43,862. So that's really less money than all of the other immigrant groups. As I said before, that is designed to make us feel bad, to say, oh, look how great these people are doing. Now, if you don't look at it and dig deeper, then you might end up feeling bad, because that's what this is about. But I did my own chart. On my chart, I added a column. I did the immigrant group, the money that they make, and the number of them that are here. So for the Ghanaians, there are 178,400 of them. For the Guyanese, 231,649. For the Egyptians, 181,677. Nigerians, 393,811. For the West Indians, and this is the total group of West Indians, 4,400,000. But breaking it down, for the Barbadians, 65,000. For the Trinidad Tobagonians, 25,367. For the Jamaicans, 992,000. And for the West Indian, I did not applicable because they've already given us the total number of them. For the Haitians, 1,084,055. For the Ethiopians, there are 305,800 of them. And for the Moroccans, there are 84,000. And then for Black or African Americans, and you see that number, that's us, that's 41,600,000. So as far as I'm concerned, this is skewed data. They're comparing tens of millions of people with thousands. I don't know what kind of trickery was done here, but I would bet the last penny in my penny jar that mixed up in all of these names and numbers is a lie. They have been mad at Black Americans ever since slavery ended. They really want us working in this country for nothing. When Africans, especially the Africans, get visas to come here, they have to already be educated. Scammers and illegals are not counted in this survey. So they bring the immigrants in, and the immigrants already will acknowledge they have to have education when they come here. That's why there's such a brain drain in Africa. And that's why the African leaders are begging them to stay at home, because they get their education and they run. And also what has to be factored in is that many of these immigrants live 10 and 12 to a house. They live more to a household than we do, and they report that as one income. They live in different circumstances than we do. There is no comparison. It's just that this is another instance of America trying to pit Black people against Black Americans. This is game, an old and tired game, but is one of the most effective strategies of white supremacy. They have been playing this game on Black people ever since they came into contact with the continent of Africa. They're still playing this game, and it's still working. Divide and conquer. I guess when they live in Africa, they live in tribes, and they understand each other, and they know how to make that work just among themselves. But you throw another greedy group of people into that mix, and they're going to create chaos for those people. And that's what's been done to Black people all over the world. I don't consider this an honest survey, and that's not to take anything away from hard-working immigrants, because I know many of them work very hard to make their lives work here in America. But the question for me is always, why are they always comparing Black people to Black immigrants? How come they don't compare white people to the Indians who are really doing the best and the Chinese who are doing better than white Americans? You don't ever see that survey. They don't talk about that. They always compare black people with black people or black people with somebody else. If this was about decency, America would be wondering, if this is true, why aren't black Americans doing better? They don't want to talk about the education system. They don't want to talk about mass incarceration. They don't want to talk about how long they kept the wages of black people depressed and how they cornered black people off so that we could not progress with all of these discrimination laws. See, they don't want to talk about that, because the real story for black Americans is how well we are doing, not how well we are not doing, because they have thrown everything at us to keep us from progressing, including the kitchen sink. The real story is how competitive we are, even though we're never on an even playing field here. It's not really an honest survey, and it is a piece of propaganda. So I think that we should really take something like this with a grain of salt. They love to publish these things and talk about how well black immigrants are doing, and that is done to shut black Americans up and try to shame black Americans and say, oh, you're not really doing as well as those people are doing. We're doing better than everybody, because everybody got a better start in America than we did. And many of us have kept up, and most of us are still in the game, competing and winning. So things like this are designed to take attention away from what's going on in America right now, the things that are centered in black America. You're talking about the 1619 Project, where they take the foundation of America away from white people and give it to black people. Then you have the critical race theory that says that the interests of white Americans were advanced at the expense of other people, including and especially black people. And finally, we have the reparations movement, which says to America, we have tallied up your bill and you owe us $17 trillion. So all of this is disturbing to America, and all of this is about black Americans. All of this is about black Americans. So there's every effort being made to diminish the claims of black Americans. But the fact of the matter is, if black Americans are so lazy and so worthless and such a burden to America, why in the hell would you go to the other side of the world and bring shipload after shipload after shipload of lazy, worthless, problematic people to live in your backyard? Why don't you go get some of those model minorities, these people that work so hard and they don't complain? Why don't you go get them to build America? Because we didn't ask to come here, remember? We have to keep that before everybody. We didn't ask to come here. All of these so-called model minorities, they crossed hell on a spider's web to get here. We didn't do that. We didn't do that. We are here by special invitation. Black Americans, if you run across this survey, just take it with a grain of salt, because all it is doing is trying to say, oh, you just don't work hard enough. And that's an old, tired lie, and they need to put it to rest. Okay, but let me know what you think about this. Thank you for listening. Subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, share the video, and as always, have a great day.